Mr. Speaker, I rise this morning to update this Honorable House on the ongoing work performed by the Disaster Risk Reduction and Mitigation Team to ensure that Bermuda is prepared for any large-scale natural or man-made disaster and the team's activities scheduled for the oncoming months. Mr. Speaker, climate change has been a hot-button issue throughout the international media. Some honorable members would be aware that Bermuda hosted its first climate risk forum this past Wednesday, October 30th, at the Hamilton Princess and Beach Club. The event was attended by Mayor Bloomberg and other notable academics in the climate change field. Discussions at the forum focused on the likely effects of climate change supported by scientific data. Mr. Speaker, the data suggests that small islands will feel these effects first. Bermuda scientists have documented that sea levels have been raised by 19 inches since 1876. In the 10-year period between 2007 and 2017, the sea levels rose 3 inches. With rising sea levels, temperatures, and record-setting hurricanes being reported, it has become increasingly imperative that Bermuda understands the effects of climate change, the effects that climate change will have right here at home. Therefore, I'm asking for the reinstatement of the Working Group on Climate Change. It is anticipated that the group will become a formal board tasked with ensuring that Bermuda is well informed on the effects of climate change and will be equipped to manage accordingly. Mr. Speaker, honorable members will also be aware that the Atlantic Basin experienced a fairly busy hurricane season. At one point, there were as many as 7 tropical storms churning. On the 1st of September 2019, the Bahamas had the unfortunate experience of suffering a direct hit by Category 5 Hurricane Dorian. The storm devastated Abaco Islands and portion of the Grand Bahama Island. There was a loss of life, homes were destroyed, and the landscape was damaged. The Bermuda government was inundated with requests from numerous individuals, businesses, and organizations wanting to assist with relief efforts in the true Bermudian spirit. Mr. Speaker, the Disaster Risk Reduction and Mitigation Team were tasked with, as the lead agency, to coordinate the efforts and to ensure that the resources were directed to the appropriate agencies. Honorable members will recall that the HMS Protector was coincidentally in Bermuda at the time and agreed to transport some relief supplies to the Bahamas on behalf of the people of Bermuda. The generous Bermudian people quickly responded at the Hamilton Seventh-day Adventist Church, and the whole became quickly overwhelmed with goods and volunteers that were there to help pack the goods for transport to the Bahamas. The HMS Protector departed Bermuda on Monday, September 9th, loaded with relief supplies. Bermuda's National Disaster Coordinator traveled on board to continue the logistics and planning for the arrival of the goods. Mr. Speaker, an additional 4 40-foot containers were packed by the DERM in conjunction with Best Shipping. Best Shipping graciously provided the containers and stored the goods and assisted with the onward transport of the containers to the Bahamas. Best Shipping, Meyer Agencies, and Container Ship Management waived their local fees. The Green family covered the cost of transporting the containers from Florida to Nassau, Bahamas. The Bahamian Association oversaw the distribution of the supplies once they arrived in the Bahamas. The Bermuda government would like to thank every volunteer, every business, and anyone who participated in this relief effort. It was truly a community effort, and the people of the Bahamas are greatly appreciated our assistance. Mr. Speaker, on September 16th, the Disaster Risk Reduction and Mitigation Team and the Emergency Measures Organization had the opportunity to test our own responsiveness plans. The aim of the DERM team was to set confidence in the local and overseas community through effective and timely communications to the public. As the island anticipated the arrival of Hurricane Umberto, the DERM team worked with the EMO executive to coordinate interagency activities and ensure that pertinent information was dispersed to all the relevant agencies and partner organizations. The EMO executive met every day at 10 a.m. to address hurricane matters and to update Hurricane Umberto had passed and was no longer a threat. Mr. Speaker, as Umberto passed, and with Hurricane Jerry threatening to follow behind, I had the opportunity to see and work with the Disaster Risk Reduction and Mitigation Team firsthand. The team was stationed at ComOps and the Ministry of National Security headquarters to coordinate the activities and the activities of all the agencies. I was impressed with their organization and their professionalism. Members of the team worked tirelessly to ensure that Bermuda was well-informed, well-equipped to weather the storm. Of particular note, for the first time, signers for the deaf and hard of hearing were used by the EMO at our press briefings, further ensuring that the important messaging could be accessed by the entire community. Mr. Speaker, my last update for the Durham team, I informed this Honourable House and the public of the team's focus on developing a hazard emergency evacuation plan for the Ferry Reach area, including the two prisons. Since that update, the working group comprised of the Durham team, Seoul Petroleum, Rubis Energy, and the Ferry Reach community representatives have completed phase 1 of the plan. The plan was distributed to the wider community and has been well received. Mr. Speaker, phase 1 of the plan prescribes using a small government ferry to evacuate the residents from the dock on the prison farm property to deliver the residents to the fisheries dock located at Coney Island. The residents will then be escorted and temporarily located at the Bailey's Bay Field to receive medical attention and have their basic welfare needs assessed. Mr. Speaker, planning for phase 2 will incorporate logistics pertaining to advanced medical needs, long-term shelters, mass transportation, security, and extended welfare requirements to support the maximum of 600 people to stay for up to 7 days. I am pleased to report that the target date to have the completed plan remains December 1st, 2019. Mr. Speaker, oil pollution on our shores is a real threat and one that we must be prepared for. To that end, the Durham team works with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources to ensure that the Marine Contingency Pollution Plan is adequate. A training session was held in March of this year and saw 70 people receive Level 1 training in oil pollution response. Mr. Speaker, a Durham team member continues to work closely with Government House, government departments, and private entities on updating contingency plans for national infrastructure. The planning includes facilitating tours to familiarize responders with the ground layout, industry terminologies, mapping updates, and partnership with stakeholders. In particular, the Durham team has been working with Skyport Corporation to develop the airport emergency plan in anticipation of the opening of our new international airport in 2020. Mr. Speaker, honorable members may recall that Bermuda was involved in a regional tsunami exercise in March. The exercise tested Bermuda's communications capabilities. The Durham team continues to be involved in finding viable ways to alert the public to pending national emergencies. These efforts are in conjunction with the Department of Communications, which successfully launched the Tree Fog Notification Act earlier this year. The Bermuda Weather Service, Marine Operations, and other EMO agencies, as well as the private sector. Additionally, the Durham team member sits on the steering committee for the new government radio initiative, which will allow interagency operability once implemented. Mr. Speaker, from June 12th to June 14th, the government cybersecurity manager attached to the Durham team traveled with representatives of the Ministry of National Security to participate in the regional conference on policies and strategies for cybercrime in the community held in the Dominican Republic. The conference was focused on international cooperation and the establishment of good practices to combat cybercrime at the national and international levels. Mr. Speaker, October was Cybersecurity Month. Events were planned by the Cybersecurity Governance Board. 2 of the Durham team members sit on this board. Honorable members will be aware that the board is made up of the total of 8 representations with the goal of informing the public of the activities that were planned from the government cybersecurity strategy. The Cybersecurity Governance Board is continuing to review the Bermuda government's cybercrime legislation to ensure that it is aligned with international standards. Mr. Speaker, the Durham team National Planning Coordinator has been actively involved in planning the safety and security of our upcoming large-scale events, including the Bermuda Championship PGA Tour event that is happening at the Port Royal Golf Course right now. From time to time, it was confirmed that Bermuda would host this event. The National Events Planning Coordinator has been involved in the meetings between the organizers, the government ministries, emergency service providers, and non-governmental entities such as the Bermuda Hospitals Board and the St. John's Ambulance to ensure that the event is professionally and safely organized. Hosting events such as the PGA Tour gives Bermuda an opportunity to showcase to the world that Bermuda is capable of successfully and safely accommodating prestigious sporting and entertainment events. Mr. Speaker, Bermuda will play host to a number of high-profile events in 2020, such as the Crifter Games. They will be held in April. Planning meetings with the organizers have recently commenced, and further updates will be provided as they become available. The National Events Coordinator works alongside the Liquor Licensing Authority and the Bermuda Police Service, as well as other stakeholders, to ensure that the public events are properly organized to decrease the risk of major incidents occurring, and anything that could lead to jeopardize Bermuda's reputation. Mr. Speaker, it is in line with these recommendations that the World Health Organization and the Pan-American Health Organization, a disaster coordinator, have been appointed to work alongside the DERM team. It is intended that this appointment will develop in a joined-up approach between health planning and disaster and contingency planning. Our regional health exercise is being planned to allow Bermuda to test its public health emergency response plans. Mr. Speaker, the work of the Disaster Risk Reduction and Mitigation Team is important in ensuring that Bermuda is prepared for any large-scale natural or man-made disaster. I will continue to update this Honorable House on this work and with the important work that all departments and units within the Ministry of National Security. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.